Is it possible to have a relationship without jealousy? Now, I recognize that that question may not make sense to a lot of people because a lot of people presume that a relationship with love, or presumably about love, has to have jealousy. Otherwise, do you really actually love that person? So, I'll give you an analogy of how that makes sense to some people. It might make sense for you in this way. That question is like asking somebody who's afraid of heights, is it possible that you'd be able to jump off of a plane with a bag of silk in your back and trusting that bag of silk to open up when you need it when you pull the lever? I recognize it's that difficult. They might believe it's impossible. But recognize that there are a lot of things in your life, most everything in your life, you once did not know how to do. I want you to think about that. There was a time in your life when a lot of things that you know how to do now you take for granted or you never even think about, you once did not know how to do. And in fact, a lot of it you had a tremendous fear of doing. Let me give you an example. There was a time in your life when you didn't know how to drive. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine not knowing how to drive? Well, you once were that person. Now you don't even think about it. You can't even imagine yourself not being able to drive. It's so first nature. It's so natural. It requires enlightenment. It requires a little bit of skill. So this question, is it possible to have a relationship without jealousy? It's like asking a person who's afraid of heights, is it possible for them to jump off of a plane with trusting a bag of silk when you pull the lever, it'll open up and land you safely? So how do you enlighten yourself and get yourself to a point when a relationship has no jealousy? Firstly, why is it important to have a relationship with no jealousy? Why is it important? It's because jealousy is heinous. It is evil. In fact, statistically, there is about 80 to 90% of murders committed were from jealousy. Think about that. 80 to 90% of murders committed from jealousy. So, why is it so evil? Because jealousy is a compounded emotion of two emotions. It's not a primary emotion. It's a compounded emotion. And when you think about this, it'll make sense for you why the murder rate is so high because of jealousy. Ready? It's a emotion, fear of loss, compounded with the emotion of the rage you feel from feeling that fear of loss. Once you get that combination going, you now have something called jealousy. Now, why is jealousy so contradictory to love? I want you to think about this. A lot of people imagine that you can't have love without jealousy. Let me ask you a question. Ask yourself, do you believe that? Those people that believe it without question. In other words, they didn't have critical thinking or critical reasoning for them to come to that conclusion. They just believe it's supposed to be that way. That's what society's taught us. So, I want you to ask yourself, do you recognize what love is? First of all, do you want a relationship fundamentally based on your loving that person? In other words, you have a relationship with that person because you love them. Now, let's say you want to build a relationship. I'm just turning on my screen. You want to build a relationship because you love them. So you want to make it fundamentally based on love. Nothing else, just love. Now, this is not traditional. People imagine it is, but traditionally, relationships, partnerships with people, marriages between people, traditional boyfriend-girlfriend relationships are traditional. They are convention. They are taught to you. This is how it's supposed to be. It has nothing to do with love, and everything to do with other things like real estate, property, ownership, control, status, wealth, network, building a bigger and bigger network, passing on your land, your real estate, your wealth. You know, when you die, you bring nothing with you. You gotta pass it on somehow. So it'll make more sense to you when I explain to you this. Love, by my definition, remember that words have no meaning. You have to give words meaning for them to have meaning. And everybody has different meanings, even in the most banal of words. Let me give you an example. Love, what's your definition of love? I guarantee you, every person you ask what their definition of love is, they'll have a different definition. Here's the best one. Love is your wanting for your beloved's happiness intrinsic to your own. The same way of saying, the same happiness you want for yourself, you want that for your beloved. Jealousy is a demonstration of your lack of love. You get it now? Because if your beloved were to pursue something or someone that makes them happy, and then you feel jealousy and the rage from feeling that fear of loss, you now are preventing them or going to do something to prevent them, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, prevent them from pursuing the things that makes them happy. You understand? Jealousy is your demonstration of your lack of love. The more you love them, the more you want for their happiness. This is the enlightenment required for you to have relationships without jealousy. I'll end it here. Observe yourself when you feel jealousy. Observe yourself when you feel the fear of loss, and then the rage you feel from that feeling that fear of loss. That is what jealousy is. There is no such thing as jealousy without those two things. Understand? Check out my site. Comment below if you have any questions. I'll continue this in a different conversation. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye.